Your representation in Congress is based on percentage of population. Michigan's going to lose one. I've heard Illinois or Indiana may lose another one, or Ohio. There's a number of places that would lose that in the census.
So, but then we would end up gaining representation.
You got it. And it's an independent, by the way, if there's people who understand this, you need to volunteer, because this is critical here. They take an independent, a Republican, and a Democrat, and you work your tail off. But boy, go back in history. History, if you're not a disciple of history, history is doomed to repeat itself. So you need to look at those and get involved in that aspect. CW, right?
No, that's the singer.
Okay.
I'm a Navy Marine Corps corpsman, and I don't sing a note. My name is C.R. Hewitt, and I've done 3 tours of Vietnam. I did Honduras, I did Panama, and I did Chile. One thing I do know, I'd like to hear from you too on gun control, but what I do know is the food chain has a lot to do with our children, the way they voted. And right now, our government is doing just the reverse. They're giving our kids everything, and at a certain point, when they get everything in, like that health care he was talking about earlier, they're going to turn that around, because a war is only started when the population can't eat. Then they'll go to war. And this is what I noticed in Vietnam, Iraq, the Arab countries, China, and in the Philippines. It's still going on today. So I'd like to hear you talk about Amendment 2 for gun control, and I'd also like to hear you talk about the food chain.
Okay. Let's talk about the Second Amendment. I actually went last year. I've been in this for a while. I've been doing the groundwork. I'm the first guy that went to the NRA. Ann was stalking them. She voted for the conceal and carry on the parks, and she went for their endorsement. I was right there. I told Chuck and the group over in Washington, D.C., no, I'm an A and I got a mouth. You will not endorse her. At least stay off the sidelines. But do not endorse Ann. I'm also a little more provocative about that. In fact, the gun owners came to me and they said, so what's special about you? I said, I'll tell you what it is. How many gun owners and how many gun manufacturers are small business people? Tons. How can Harry Reid actually be a patron saint of NRA? Out of one side of his mouth, he holds up bills for the NRA. On the other side, he kills small business. I said, you better take another look. I think we need to start looking at the whole dynamics of what that Second Amendment means. It's the supply, it's the demand, and it's the exercise. So I am that guy who took that stand, and I'm poignant about it. In fact, Bob Corbin, former NRA president, is one of my backers for one of those reasons. The food chain, you're exactly right. Okay? But we're all victims of this, and we're all to blame for this. We've given this away a little bit at a time. Now, if you want to talk actually food, let's start there first. If something happens in Latin America, do you think the United States can feed itself in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of a year? Absolutely not. District 1 is situated perfectly for controlling itself. You have citrus, you have cattle, you have pork, you have all the crops down in the south, you have water, you have minerals. Holy cow, folks, here's one of your points of one of my ideas for points of economic recovery for District 1. I don't want the feds telling me what to do. I want to do it here. I don't need a contract that has to be authorized by the federal government. I want a handshake. That's where I'm from. I want that handshake. And then I'll make it do it. Number 2 is, public health has to be subservient in this food chain too. If we're all hurting, and I can tell you, I signed both sides of a paycheck, and my income is dramatically down. I was never rich to begin with. But shouldn't you tell me in the food stamps and the WIC diets, tell me what's on the WIC diet that everybody shouldn't be on? Maybe some juices for kids. But complex carbohydrates, proteins, several cereals, that's about it. But they're all complex. Guess what the #1 class in Sanawa High School is right now? Cooking. My kid is a god there because he's a